Hi, everyone. This is acyuta-bhava from Nightlight Astrology, and today we're going to take a look at a few things that are happening in the sky right now. Not really one focus for the day. We're going to talk about Mercury entering the sign of Gemini. We're going to talk about the Sun just separating from a square to Saturn, and we're going to talk about Jupiter's upcoming entrance into Pisces, all of which we will also be continuing to talk about for a while now because these are changes that are also going to last for a while. So that's our agenda for the day. In the meantime, I am making sure to remind everybody that my new course, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, my first year program, is starting again in June. You can go to my website, nightlightastrology.com, click on the first year course page under the courses tab, and learn all about the program that I offer. It's a year-long program. I teach the program live through Zoom webinars. There are about 30 lessons on the year and about 100 hours worth of material. We also have 12 guest lecturers that come in. There is a whole reading track you can follow. So there's optional reading assignments throughout the whole year, as well as bonus material, quizzes, a chat forum. You can email me year round with questions. So it's a really great program. Towards the end of the program, we have live clients come in that I work with and kind of show you how the techniques that we study work. If you are interested, don't forget the early bird payment is in effect all the way up until the start of the program. If you sign up and pay in full, you save $500. There's a payment plan if you need it. There's also tuition assistance, what we call need-based tuition for people who might be in a tighter financial spot. We try to make sure that the class is really accessible for everyone, so take advantage of that. In the meantime, I am not situated in my new office yet. We just moved into a new house, and I have not moved into my new office, so it might be a little echoey for a while because I'm in a big open room that has no carpet. So there's just a ton of echo in here. I'm feeling a little beat up personally after, how moving is. I mean, I'm glad that I have shelter and a place to live. So I try to focus on that. But man, moving is stressful, especially with kids. It's just like such a full on ordeal. And you're trying to do things, but every 2 seconds you have to, you got nap times and you got meal times, and just it's just like how can you explain? It's like unpacking a box per day or something like that. So anyway, I've been kind of dealing with that lately, but I'm glad to be set up in the new space and at least starting to get the wheels turning here on getting my new office set up. I've been displaced from my office, as most of you know, since last August, and I was in a rental home and just not able to like set it up the way I wanted to. So I'm pretty stoked. I got a new paint color. I'm really excited about my new paint color. And getting it all set up pretty soon. Anyway, so thank you all for your patience. In the meantime, let's take a look at the thing that I have been personally feeling the last few days, which is why I mentioned feeling a little exhausted. You can see that the sun in Taurus is just separating from a square to Saturn in Aquarius. So the sun passed through the conjunction with Uranus last week and then squared Saturn. And it was funny because the way that this worked out for me was, and I'll go back a few days so you can see this. So we had the conjunction on Friday, April 30th, which was moving day for me. Friday into Saturday was. And I was like, it felt like this burst of Uranian activity, like the feeling of freedom, the feeling of excitement, the feeling of a personal breakthrough, that sense of your ideal image toward which your life is organized and moves toward whether you want to be a world-class video gamer or whether you want to be the best possible parent that you can. The sun is always going to embody that sense of archetypal aspiration. So when it hits Uranus, the aspiration becomes really Uranian: freedom, innovation, rebellion, eccentricity, deviation from set rules or traditions. And it just felt like that, like I'm moving. Oh my God. It was so, it's like so thrilling. And then what was so funny was, the weekend came in and then it was like, okay, then the sun is immediately going into the engagement with Saturn. And Saturn, of course, Saturn and Uranus are going through this dynamic together. So any planet that passes through the square hits both of them, or the opposition will hit both planets. Now, Sun Saturn, by contrast, is saying the image has fallen short. There's a sense of the unobtainable image, or the image that you can't get to, that you're limited or blocked from achieving. That's one Sun-Saturn obstacle. On the other hand, it's the perseverance, the discipline, the stick-to-itiveness needed to get through something. I think it was Winston Churchill who said, when you're in hell, just keep moving. I can't remember if it was him or not, but it kind of has that feeling to it. Like there's this way in which the aspirational ambitions of the sun feel contained, confined, constrained, exhausted. It's like the hero who's trudging up the hill. I think I told you guys I was watching a bunch of Mount Everest documentaries, like, I don't know, it was like a month ago or so. And, just watching these people like put themselves into a position where they had to feel like they literally couldn't breathe, and they were, they're dying. They're in the death zone, it's called, where they're trying to march up this mountain. And I was just sitting there like, people do this because it feels good to work through, to purposely put yourself into limiting or confining situations. There's a way in which once you get out of that situation, then all of a sudden it's like, boom, there's this explosion of light. And I was just thinking about how, there's this, I don't know, for me anyway, when I'm moving, like there's this feeling of like, oh, there's boxes everywhere. None of my stuff is organized. My life and my rhythm that I'm used to feels completely discombobulated. I don't sleep very well. I'm not working out because I have to like get up, and there's this thing to do and that thing to do. It's just a total, and it takes this whole process of getting readjusted and settled back in. And it's a long process. And I was just thinking, man, it's so Sun-Saturn, isn't it? It's so Sun-Saturn. So anyway, if you have been feeling that you've been in the death zone, or you've been feeling a little pinched or squeezed, and it's felt like there's been more of a pressure around you in terms of obtaining your ideal, or if you've been ashamed or feeling like you're falling short or can't reach the thing that you want, those are Saturn things. Saturn represents the feeling of being ashamed or cast out or rejected or separated from the object archetypal of death. How do you fall short? I fall short as a man. I fall short as a father. I fall short as an astrologer, whatever. And just that feeling of, I've missed the mark. I'm banished from Eden. It's a very Sun-Saturn dynamic. So if you've been dealing with that, that's pretty par for the course right now. That's what I wanted to talk about first, because typically if I wouldn't have been moving, I would have done a lead up to video, but I had to record a bunch in advance because of my moving situation. Anyway, so the other thing that's happening, if we go forward to today, May 4th, is that Mercury has just ingressed into Gemini. So be sure to track this in your own chart. Look at the whole sign house of Gemini. Wherever that whole sign house is, you, in the last day or so, you're getting a really big dose of Mercury coming up. So because Mercury is going to be in this sign all the way until about the end of this month when it turns retrograde. It retrogrades through June. We have a solar eclipse in June. Venus and the sun will be in Gemini. So there's a ton of action coming into that sign of Gemini very shortly. The way that I would look at that personally would be with Mercury is going to be, if you think of Mercury as the way in which we tend to sort through or process something, the way that I think about a long Mercury process is that we are reevaluating, adjusting, rethinking, reconfiguring, and usually it's like information, data, communication, agreements, contracts, technology. It could also be something to do with money or pricing or like financial or business arrangements or details. So you can watch for those things because my mic looks massive. So the point is that the Mercury transit is going to be really asking us to work through and consider things from a variety of different angles. And oftentimes with a big retrograde like this and then a solar eclipse, we're going to totally reconfigure how we're doing or thinking or processing or organizing something. And that could be your thoughts. It could be the way of dealing with your business or a relationship. It could be Just think of it almost like rearranging the furniture in a room of your house, but this room in your house could be a room in your life. And think about that as a process that's going to be happening. That's the rearrangement, the moment where everything kind of turns and there's this very serious change of direction. That's happening by mid-June. So you think about June 10th onward. And let me just show it to you on the screen. You might find it interesting. So if we go to about the end of the month, you'll see that Mercury is going to station right around May 29th and 30th, retrograding into the 31st. And then if you go forward to June 10th, what's so interesting about this is that Mercury is basically cazimi at the time of the solar eclipse. And it's in its own chariot. It's protected because it's in its own sign. So the combustion is, I just would say it's eased quite a bit. The other thing that I find really interesting is, of course, this whole stellium is square to Neptune. So we're going to get Neptune in on the mix as well. We'll be talking about that a lot later. But of course, as we are rearranging things, we're also going to be the subtle, the timeless, the imaginative, the otherworldly dimension of Neptune may come in and color the way we're reorganizing something in our life, or the way we're rethinking or reversing or redoing, all retrograde symbolism. With the solar eclipse, it marks a very powerful new beginning in our lives. So that's coming up. And the point of talking about it today is because Mercury has just ingressed into the sign of Gemini. And so you want to track that whole sign house placement in your chart. I will be doing a video on Mercury retrograde through the 12 houses and signs about the time it turns retrograde at the end of the month. So, and then we'll be doing more on that in June when when the solar eclipse comes through. Meanwhile, a few insights that I've been pondering with Mars in Cancer. Mars is in Cancer, plodding along. I want to warn everyone right now that it is building toward a very massive opposition to Pluto. I am worried about this. I actually, between you guys and I, the big audience out there, I have had like a few clients who, have already been dealing with some pretty extreme, like family, I would just call it like kind of explosive family drama, as well as a few unexpected pregnancies, for example, in my clients' lives and stuff like that. So one thing that I wanted to say about Mars in Cancer is that if there have been mounting or growing tensions in family dynamics with Mars in Cancer, you really want to watch for things to peak and perhaps explode, but then, transform and perhaps become a lot more, a lot better by, sorry if you guys can hear my kids in the background, by about June 5th. So you're seeing this because at that time, Mars is going to hit an opposition to Pluto, and that opposition to Pluto is it's very explosive. I promise you, we will see some very dramatic events right around that time. So and this is a dynamic, for example, where a couple of years ago, when this dynamic came through, this was, I think I told you guys, it was the Mars opposite Pluto transit that came through, and there was like a nasty hive of hornets outside my house that ended up stinging me like a lot. It was all over my back. I got completely, it felt like a horror movie. It was just crazy. It didn't hurt for more than 20 minutes, but anyway. But at this time, also had a extended family member who had a very serious accident. Okay, he's okay now, but there was a very serious accident that happened around that time. So that Mars-Pluto dynamic that we're building toward that comes in around June 5th is also really setting the tone for the eclipse, and that's a big deal. So we're going to keep our eye on that. But another insight that I had about Mars in Cancer is that one of the nice things about Mars in Cancer is that there's really nowhere to go but up. Like when Mars is in Cancer, it's in its fall, it's in its depression, and the only place it can now move toward is toward its exaltation. So it's like a cycle and a circle of karma with planets in their exaltation and fall. A planet in its exaltation is peaking, but it may have nowhere to go but down. The planet in its fall may be at the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, but it has nowhere to go but up. So you can also think of almost like, when you max out a credit card or something and you go, well, I guess the only thing I have to do is pay it off now. So there's nowhere to go but up because I can't spend anymore. Similarly, it's like you're exhausting karma in some area of your life. We're just being completely depleted or exhausted, and then it's going to build back up. If you're someone like me who has a sun sign in Cancer, like that can be rough because you can literally, your life force can feel a little depleted for a while. But it's kind of, you're kind of reaching the basement of an energy cycle, and then you'll start climbing the stairs upward again. So if you notice or feel that sense of frustration, or just you're running on empty in some area of your life, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, you may be feeling fine, but you may be feeling like tensions, or like you're running out of grace tokens in some area of your life. And, things are grinding on each other and wearing each other down. If you feel that way in some area of your life, you're going to notice a pretty powerful shift when Mars hits that Pluto in early June and then transitions into Leo, where now it's not in its fall anymore. So I would say also that even if you are struggling with the Mars and Cancer dynamic in the sky right now, that by early June, things will pick back up. And the really good thing about a depression is you can hit like a rock bottom in certain ways, but then you start climbing your way back up. And it's nice. It's nice to have that. Like, it's nice to take inventory to realize, okay, like the good mojo has run out in some place of my life. And that really means it's the beginning of a turning point for the better. It's like they say in AA groups and, in Al-Anon and stuff like that. I have family members who are in different 12-step programs. It's kind of like, some people have to hit rock bottom, and that rock bottom, may look pretty mild for some people, pretty rough for other people. And from there, you just kind of start climbing your way up. And it helps to sort of surrender and to realize that you're in a certain kind of helpless position. Anyway, so all of that being said, I hope you guys are having a great week. I will probably be concluding my series on how to deal with astrological anxiety tomorrow or Thursday, doing some more transit work for the week. I've had, over the past year, I've had a lot of people ask like random personal questions about my life, just kind of like fun, quirky, random personal questions. So I decided to aggregate some of those into a Q&A video. So if you want to know anything about me personally, my life, it could be anything about my journey with astrology or ayahuasca, or I don't know, it's anything that you want to know about me. Feel free to leave questions in the chat box. I'm going to kind of aggregate them into a fun, like, getting to know your astrologer better video, which I thought would be kind of fun. You can also email me if you want to, info@nightlightastrology.com, and put Q&A into the subject line, and, for anything really. But yeah, so I might do that this week or maybe next week. Okay, that's what I've got. And don't forget, my new class is coming up. If you have questions about it, you can also email me, and hope to see some of you in class soon. And like I said, hope you guys are having a great week. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.